Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Sarkar. Now, all yours. Thank you, Sarkarji, accepting our invitation. Can you start, Sarkarji, now?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Desai, for your kind introduction. Thanks, everyone who have joined. So, Shashi, can you take us to the next slide?
Next slide.
So, as it was said, this is a very important topic, which is creating some sort of ripples all over the world. The agenda of today is understanding what is disruptive technology, examples of disruptive technologies, the fintech ecosystem, and the MSME benefits and use case of AI, RPA, and blockchain.
Recording.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So we come to know what is disruptive technology. Technology has become an immovable part of our life ecosystem today. We cannot move without smartphones and tablets. Technology has deep invasion in our houses, in our bedrooms, and in all walks of life. Disruptive technology is something which creates a disruption in the market and technology, which makes a business to change its business model and to compete with the new entrants. What are the kinds of disruptive technologies we are facing today are cloud computing, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotic process automation, data and advanced analytics, machine learning, Internet of Things. Next slide, please. So these are the examples of disruptive technologies. We'll go one by one. AI, RPA, blockchain, cloud computing, IoT, and big data analytics. Next. So we come to artificial intelligence, AI. What is this? This is an area of intelligent automation. So here we see the program mimic certain human behaviors and try to build intelligent machines that work and react like humans. We are today aware of Siri and Alexa and the other chatbots. There are various ways of recognizing patterns and emulating it into customer behavior. These are advanced computer systems. Advanced computer systems that can simulate human capabilities. Some of the examples in finance include pattern recognition, automated data entries, use of chatbots, credit scorecard, etc. Next slide, please. No, previous slide, please. So, sorry, this is what we discuss about RPA. RPA is robotic process automation. Sorry. Robotic process automation is a technology whereby bots can perform repetitive tasks directly from a user interface. So basically what happens, it's getting more work done in lesser time tool. Getting more work done in lesser time. The only thing we have to be aware is that the data is structured and it's repetitive tasks. The data is structured and the tasks are repetitive. RPA bots can work directly from an application's user interface, mimicking human actions, including logging in and out, copying posting data. So what happens when an organization employs RPA? When an organization employs RPA, it frees up employee bandwidth to move up to more important functions. The routine, repetitive, rule-driven tasks are performed by bots, and employees can move to higher bandwidth. The employee morale also improves. And MSMEs have a fear that technology and cost will be high, but it is not so. We have a lot of pay and use models today with much lesser cost. And there is sharing of bots also, which brings cost efficiency to the companies. Next slide, please. So this is basically a roadmap to RPA. When an organization decides, it works on the same way as ERPs are implemented. It's the same process, but this diagram is more or less self-explanatory. Can we move to the next slide? Now we come to blockchain. This is another disruptive technology. So what happens in a blockchain? A blockchain is a distributed ledger. A blockchain is a distributed ledger where data is immutable data, where data cannot be changed without people's interference and changing in all the nodes. By nodes, I mean the different computers which are part of the chain. So what is a block? A block is a transaction or a bundle of transactions, which is protected with cryptographical hashes. Previous slide, which is protected through cryptographical hashes, and the chain is created. Now, what are the efficiencies of the chain? One is that it's a trusted network. It keeps an audit trail. Data cannot be changed without making changes to all the nodes. And at the same time, it's more or less real time through use of smart contracts and consensus mechanism. Next slide, please. So this is how basically a blockchain simplified diagram of a blockchain process works. A buyer creates a transaction. It is cryptographically hashed, means coded through cryptographic security codes. The transaction is distributed to the distributed databases, which are the different nodes and the computers in those nodes. The seller receives a transaction. Any intermediary also can make a change. All of them at the same time, in a real time, the transaction gets effectuated. And that is the beauty of the transaction. It saves time, it improves efficiency, and it saves cost. Next slide, please. So cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is basically storage of the data in the cloud, which is much less in cost than the traditional storage in servers. Now we are moving to quantum computing with the help of cloud computing, where more faster computer networks will access the cloud-based data to perform the tasks. So what I mean to say is that the cost of technology, while technology is improving day by day, the cost of technology also is coming down as more efficient ways of technological improvement is being envisaged. Next slide, please. Internet of Things, IoT, is basically it's a chain of network of various objects on the internet, connected to the internet, which can update real-time data at the same time. Some of the examples are inventory and asset tracking. So a particular scanner can be put against an asset in a plant to see its movement, and the same can be seen in the corporate office with a in the dashboard. So it's making use of the technology with the help of scanners to improve a real-time tracking of the assets and lot of and all the systems computing devices taking part simultaneously in the network. Let's come to the next slide. So big data analytics. This is a very important part which is gaining much prominence nowadays. What is big data analytics? We all know what data analytics is all about. Data analytics is doing analysis on raw data to come at some meaningful conclusions. Now the data can be structured, semi-structured, unstructured, and big databases. To give an example, in India, we have a GST network, we have an income tax network. Basically, GST deals with indirect taxes and income tax deal with direct taxes. Now, the big data analytics is combining both to give an implication of a person's income tax based on his indirect tax. I give a further example. Suppose a person is showing in the indirect taxes large amount of GST sales, and in his income tax return, we see that he is not paying income tax, or his income tax is below the level which is being portrayed by his sales ledgers. So then income tax, with the help of big data analytics, can raise a question to the particular person that why he has paid less income tax or has not paid income tax when his sales are above optimal level. So big data analytics uses to analyze and draw conclusions from big databases, large databases which have both structured, semi-structured, and unstructured information. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits of big data analysis and data analytics is better decision making. Definitely when data is organized and data-driven decisions are taken, one does not have to depend on the gut feeling. More accessible analytics, yes. More databases are combined and analytics is made available to business for proper decision making. Automation, very important, as more and more business processes are automated and are intelligently automated, productivity increases, efficiency increases, ROI increases, profit increases. Predictive modeling is very important. Predictive analytics is the next stage of big data analytics. Through predictive analytics, we can predict the customer pattern. We can predict insolvency for a MSME. We can predict loan defaults. We can predict cash flow, a lot of things. Next slide, please. Now I want to talk about the fintech ecosystem. What is this animal? It's making ripples all around the world. So fintech is nothing but financial technology. Now, the point is, what are the different kind of fintech application we have? As we look in the screen, you will see there are a lot of companies which are basically startups and unicorns and sunicorns, as they call it, which are soon to become unicorns. In various fields, we see fintechs in robo-advisors and personal finance, in RegTech, which is regulatory technology, in digital banks and banking software, in payments, remittances, blockchain and bitcoins, in insurance techs, in alternative finance. Next slide, please. So this is again the definition of fintech. It is, I call it a embedded creature. Finance and technology today cannot be separate. It has to move together and side by side, because there are a lot of financial services which are predominantly technology driven, and technology can also help a lot of financial services to become more efficient, and more so in the MSME sector, which is a hugely unstructured sector which needs to perform, but which has a great potential, which can be accessed through proper use of fintech. Next slide, please. So fintech is creating a disruption in industry, and the trend is growing stronger. Technology is finance can be equated with disruptive technology and rapid transformation in the financial sector. While fintech is growing, one point I would like to say here in Dickensian terms, Charles Dickens was a famous English novelist who was very optimist, at the same time conservative also. So in Dickensian terms about fintech, we can say that it brings in substantial efficiency, better customer experience, and greater social welfare. But at the same time, we also need to deal with some of the threats of online frauds, compromise of customer credentials, and the data privacy and safety for the spring, such that it doesn't turn into a winter of despair. Can we move to the next slide? So again, finance and technology, as I already said. Previous slide, please. Yeah, the finance and technology, as I already said, according to me, it's an embedded creature. You cannot today separate finance from technology or technology from finance. They have to move together and prove and provide ROI to business. By ROI, I mean return on investment. So technology can give more visibility to all financial data. Needless to mention, technology makes the data available. Still needless to mention, technology adds to automation and simplifying tax, saving time and work. And when this is done, cost optimization is created, cost efficiency is built up. A business can focus on more vulnerable areas, and business becomes more productive. We move to the next slide. So again, a broader definition, a broader snapshot of fintech. The areas where it is making disruptions are blockchain, payment, exchange, research, digital money. We know about digital wallets and financial inclusions in MSMEs, which are happening, online banking, investment, and crowdfunding. Next slide, please. So basically, if you have to sum up that, three critical services offered by fintech is data analytics. It is helping to build up more data, and data is very important today for businesses to succeed. Without data, smart decisions cannot be taken, and data-driven decisions are smart decisions which helps the business to move forward. Mobile technology, with the digital footprint and the smartphone invasion in India, we need to build the mobile technology on top of, use mobile technology more on top of the existing technology to help more and more entities to get benefited from the fintech developments. And artificial intelligence. AI is making more things easier, from customer behavior, customer experience, understanding patterns, sentiment analysis, and other things. AI is really making things simpler for business. Next slide, please. Now I'll talk something about digitization of finance. See, In India, the digital footprint has already increased, and barring the rural sector where prevailing internet penetration has to be made, we still see digitization of finance happening, and digitization of finance has to happen, because unless digitization is done, digital transformation cannot happen. And digital transformation is the need of the day. So what happens in digitization of finance? High standardization data is in a standardized format is created. Highly automated functions. When functions are automated, employee productivity improves, employee morale improves, business efficiency improves. Insight-driven decisions. Decisions are not based on gut feeling, or decisions are not based on gut feeling or hunches. They are based on smart, insight-driven, data-driven connotations. There's improved customer experience through AI and other advanced technologies. When a customer behavior is studied, customer delivery happens, then customer experience is also improved. There's better service delivery because the whole supply chain gets more efficient through use of disruptive technology. So these are all some of the key components of digitization of finance. The next slide, please. I want to dwell on this slide for some time. See, the take advantages, and there's a huge unawareness, or I should say apprehension, among the MSMEs. The technology means high cost. I'll give some examples that efficient technology does not mean high cost today. It means efficiency. See, tech is not expensive. Go for cloud computing. It can enable a digital journey with almost no time, cost, and effort. A cloud server is much, much less costly than a physical server. Digitalize the customer-facing end first. Then go for inventory management, payroll, other back-end processes. So do it in parts. Ultimately, it will be a sum of parts which will help the organization to be more efficient. Make provisions for customers to order online and ship to home. Order online and pick up from the store. Can everyone be on mute, please? Make provisions for customers to order online and ship to home. Order online and pick up from store. Order online but return to store. See, everywhere it has a store connect. So I'm building up time efficiency in my supply chain. Connect digital payments to your service. Enable contactless payments using Android phone. You don't need to do follow-up. Keep a bunch of employees and to follow up on payments. They are made automatic, and you come to know as and when it is made. Hence, it reduces cost, gives you better sleep. Join extranets of large enterprises to which you supply. Build your ecosystem in their extranets. Become part of the system. So, by this, what I mean is a lot of MSME suppliers supply to big companies, multinationals, governments who have already spent on their development system. So when the MSMEs become a part of their extranets, it is done at a much lower cost. Efficiency is improved, technology is adapted. Next slide, please. Why MSMEs should embrace fintech solutions? We have already explained, but just go to the next slide. It's the call of, please. It is the call of the day. Already MSMEs received a shock during the COVID phase and the demonetization. They have understood the importance and have opened up to fintech developments, including sales machine, POS, POS, contact, digital wallets, accounting software, SaaS, software as service, and others. However, access to credit still remains a critical area for MSMEs. The potential of digital lending in the sector is increasing manifold, and fintech has to become an integral part of modern day business for MSMEs. A lot of work in blockchain is happening to get easier finance and cheap finance to MSMEs. There are several pain points in the process of lending: duration of loan processing, lack of transparency in the process, insufficient loan size, inflexibility of loan tenures. Because of the number of intermediaries involved and number of NBFCs and banks being less in the system. Now that government has allowed NBFCs to participate more in the system, I think it's a right opportune moment for MSMEs to embrace technology and move forward. Next slide, please. So now I come to some of the benefits and use cases of specific disruptive technologies, AI, RPA, and blockchain. Next slide. Next slide, please. So AI, the next slide, yeah. So AI basically provides a lot of benefits. One is the conversational interface. Here, basically is a customer satisfaction point. A customer gets instant gratification because there are a lot of queries like, where is my order? You track the order throughout the supply chain and provide customers instant notification and 24 hours round the clock with the use of AI, ML combined with chatbots. Data in chatbot platforms can be used for more customer engagement. See, chatbots today, we are aware of various banks putting their chatbots, and a lot of organizations also know their products and what the customer wants from a chatbot feed. That feed can be used for analysis of the customer feedback and providing more enriching products. One of the biggest advantages is customer behavior to forecasting sales. Sentiment analysis is being done on various platforms using data from various sources, understanding patterns of customers, which products the customer needs or what is his behavior pattern, the behavioral analysis. All this is happening with the help of AI. And it also helps in automating the back office functions and financial activities. Again, with the use of RPA and AI combined, the routine repetitive tasks can be automated, thereby improving efficiency. Next slide, please. These are some use cases how RPA helps MSMEs. High productivity, improved business performance, uninterrupted and continuous processing, because bots can work for 24 hours. There's no leave, there's no rest. These are robots who don't need to rest their mind as humans do. Enhanced accuracy, definitely when rules are written and they work based on rules for repetitive tasks, accuracy improves, human errors are eliminated. Focused innovation, so employees can focus on more on the core activities and improve their bandwidth. Employee morale improves. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So this picture I have liked very much because it sums up all the benefits of a robotic process automation. Accuracy, yes. Low technical barrier, yes. Because once a chatbot is configured To use it, you don't need much technology. Understanding of much technology, it can be configured easily. Compliance becomes easier. It's a non-invasive technology. It can be put on top of other technologies and can work on Excel sheets, SAP, data, etc. Improved employee morale. Employees are put on more productive job and higher bandwidth. Their bandwidth increases. Hence, the morale also increases. Productivity definitely increases. Reliability. Bots can be relied more than human beings in terms of repetitive and rule-based tasks. Consistency, yes. Next slide, please. I want to show how RPA and AI is basically entwines each other or complements each other. See, RPA is a system based on rules. AI is a system that learns, that mimics human behavior. Bots automate easy tasks and make broad data sources available to AI. AI learns to mimic and improve processes based on data handled over from RPA. Next slide, please. Now, blockchain. Blockchain for MSME is how it helps. It's a very recent technology. As I explained, it's a distributed ledger technology, DLT as it is told. So, what is the difference between centralized and decentralized technology? In centralized technology, you have only one node. In decentralized technology, there are many nodes. Nodes are computers which is linked to the network. Data is protected in as much as audit trail is kept, and any data change has to be made in all the nodes. Also, data is protected with a cryptographic hash. It's a coding which prevents data, and the blockchain uses smart contracts and consensus for a transaction. So transactions more or less happen in real time and based on consensus amongst all the nodes. So the benefits you get from blockchain are trust, safety of the data, efficiency in the process in terms of lesser time taken, and the real-time based data, and more boost on the ROI, which is the return on investment. Next slide, please. These are some of the use cases applicable to finance, which a blockchain can do. See, it has widespread impact to transform a process from linear silos to integrated networks. People don't work in silos. A blockchain opens it up to various network and node-based interaction. It has perhaps an impact on all the business processes from procure to pay, order to cash, cross-border payment, supply chain management, loyalty management, treasury financing, warranty, intercompany sales. To give an example, in procure to pay, what happens? A purchase order. Earlier, what used to happen when a company places a purchase order on its supplier, if it has to track the purchase order, it has to go back to the scanned document, send an email, again talk. Sometimes documents are lost in MSME sort of a business ecosystem. But what basically blockchain will do is it through a smart contract. What is a smart contract? A smart contract is a rule-based arrangement whereby on a real-time basis, you can close a procure to pay, you can track the purchase order and get your materials delivered on time. Similar for order to cash. For your sales arrangement also, you can track and get the payment settled. For cross-border payments, the high cost of intermediary can be removed when these transactions are settled through blockchain. Supply chain management can become more efficient. Loyalty points of customers can be tracked and customer gratification can be achieved. Next slide, please. So as I come to the end of the presentation, I want to leave a thought with all participants. According to me, the need of today is the business moving towards intelligent business automation. So what was the BPM software enterprise content management. Then there came case management. Now it's intelligent business automation using AI, RPA, chatbots, cloud computing, and all the stuff. The only point is how can MSMEs make the most benefit out of this. With this, I come to the end of my presentation, and we'll talk something on SME analytics and what we do. Next slide, please. See, SME analytics, I'm a co-founder in SME analytics and a CFO. This is a fintech startup with our desire to support MSME units to improve their operational efficiency. We do this through a product called Babaji's, which is a data analytic DIY tool, do-it-yourself tool. And this stands for Business Analytics, Business Augmentation and Growth Information Systems, and is based on available data from business units. We provide various ratios and help them to understand where they are, the as-is position from which they can move forward. We work based on a freemium model, which means our initial analysis is free of cost. When we move upwards in the value chain, it's different. We also provide mentorship and advisory services to startups and MSME units. We are in process of developing a Z-score, which is a predictive insolvency score, which will help MSMEs to understand their position in terms of bank loans and also help banks to reduce the rate of growth of NPA in the sector. Next slide, please. This slide depicts some of our service areas, which range from Babaji's tool to improving operational efficiency. If the operational efficiency of a business is improved, then the profit also improves, return on investment improves. Data analytics, mentorship, previous slide. Previous slide, please. Mentorship, we provide mentorship to startups and MSMEs in which we handhold them to a 10x growth. Digital transformation support, we look at how intelligent business automation can be built in to benefit the business. We provide CFO services, which is financial advisory service. This is one of the areas which we notice a lot of MSMEs are not aware of and need to improve. And as I always said, it's an embedded creature. Finance and technology together can make it happen. Fundraising and IP advisory services are also included. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I thank every participant, Nilesh ji, Mr. Hanumantlu, for giving a patient hearing, and I open this up for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sarkar. Now I am opening this for our audience to ask many questions to Mr. Sarkar, which he will be happy to answer. Thank you everybody for participating. See, Mr. Sarkar, can I start with my question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
See, first thing is many MSMEs are not aware that these are the benefits can come, and this digital transformation or the adopting this technology will be taking long time for them. So how can we help them or handhold them so that they can come out of the mind frame? As you rightly said, the cost is reducing, but can we come out with something which can immediately be digested by them and help them to grow? Thank you.
One thing is that if we look at digital transformation, there are two parts to it. One is digitization and second is digital adoption. And then once the digital transformation happens, it is completed through intelligent automation. Now, for MSMEs, one point is we need to make them aware, perhaps as you already know, that they are the sleeping giants. We have a large untapped potential. They have to be made aware that technology and finance today are embedded with each other. And without participating in the drive, business efficiency cannot be built up. Automation is no more costly, but automation is the rather need of the day. Unless automated, businesses cannot be more efficient. Have I been able to answer?
Yes, yes. Can we ask the audience to also ask question so that we can, Hanumantu Sahab has said some question. Many MSMEs problems are due to working capital shortage. How to attract working capital based on existing capacities? Hanumantu sir is asking this question.
A very good point, Mr. Hanumantu. A very good point. And MSMEs need to be aware that their working capital need not only be financed by bank loans. They can also work on factoring, which is one of the things which government is trying to build up, and many fintechs are trying to build up a platform for factoring invoices, the receivables. There are already receivable TradeX platforms are there, but with the recent government has allowed NBFCs also to participate. So there will be a huge competition, and interest cost will definitely come down. The auction rates will come down. So factoring is something which MSMEs need to look into for their working, for meeting the working capital challenge. And also they have to look into alternative sources of financing rather than only looking at the bank loans. There are a lot of alternative sources of financing today, like equity participation, HNI investment, strategic alliance, joint ventures. Now the promoter's mindset has to be changed, as MSMEs are mostly family-driven and partnership-driven companies. They are not accustomed to, they have to sip in the idea that growth can happen through equity participation or a private equity, other alternative sources of joint venture, strategic alliance, etc. This will perhaps help them to overcome both the working capital and any funding crisis which they have.
Some of our foreign participant is asking whether we'll issue a e-certificate to them.
We can give a certificate of participation, but we will think about it. We'll discuss.
Okay.
Sir, my doubt is, I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, my concern is, MSME's main problem is with receivables and idle stocks.
Yes, absolutely.
That problem should come out. Of course, with this 45 days limitation, the problem of receivables might have reduced to some extent. Ideal stocks is another problem. So that how to reduce that to how this technology helps them to reduce ideal stocks and receivables.
Yeah, I will come to
if that problem is solved, MSME will come out of problems.
Absolutely. So there are two things you said. One is higher receivables, and second is idle stocks. Yes. So higher receivables, one of the ways is factoring of receivables. For that, first, the receivables have to be tracked. The tracking of the receivables can be done by employees, or it can be done by bots also. The RPA application, because aging of receivables is a routine repetitive task, which is rule-based also. So a bot can pull up the sales ledger and see how many receivables are more than 60 days or 180 days or whatever is the period set, older than that. And a routine email or some sort of a communication can be sent to them. Another point is we can use factoring. We can use factors to auction these receivables to banks and NBFCs, through which the money will be received much before the that 60 days or 120 days, whatever is the business set period for receivables is there. These two are the things where technology can help as far as receivables is concerned. Then when we come to idle stocks is something which can be tracked through use of the IoT, a scanner system, or again, a inventory, sort of a inventory ledger lookup, that how long stock is lying, for how many, is it a dead stock or is it an ideal stock? Some routine analysis can be done by a bot, that's the RPA, and thereafter for the high-end analysis can be done at the corporate office. But one thing I should say, so Hanumantu, two things. One is that the mindset of the promoters in MSMEs have to change. It has to change. Two things. One is that they have to be more open to consultants helping them, professional advices. And the second thing is they have to come out of that ego that they are everything, and they have to open up to alternative sources of finance, not only the traditional bank loans.
Yes.
I would like to add, Hanumantu, I would like to add, last 20 years, I am talking to number of entrepreneurs that please look into your idle asset, and there are success cases, because nobody is forcing, see, to this entrepreneur, we will have to put a gun on their head and ask them to take a spot decision. And it has given me wonderful results. Recently also one sick unit, today afternoon he came and they said, because of your idle asset, I have saved 5 lakhs of rupees, which is blocking, because they are busy. It's for them, it's a egg first or chicken first situation. And that is why they are not, but sometimes they listen. A strong mentoring and strong consultancy, they feel consultants are costly. They are making really helpful to them because they take bird's eye view. This is my opinion. Today, my 3 marketing people are moving in the MSME area, and the feedback below 1 crore turnover, they say my books are not ready. You talk to my chartered accountant and all that kind of things. With the government adopting big data analytics, definitely anybody who is spending anything will come in a picture in 2-3 years time. If our MSME is not aligning slowly, they are heading for a big problem. Second thing, when you take a loan from the bank or something, you have already given a CMA data for 2-3 years. So they should make the CMA data by themselves and take the help of outside people. But what they are doing today, they go to outside people, prepare, and I need 50 lakhs loan or 30 lakhs loan. that attitude has to change compulsorily. See, I have seen hundreds of factories where cleaning is not taken. Once they start cleaning, a lot of things comes up, and these are my standard, and my books are also around that. So I hope we can take one to one, but the case studies are so much alarming that they are sleeping on a gold mine. As Mr. Sarkar also was telling about data gold mine available with them. That data
Exactly.
which is available for 10 years, 20 years, they are just saying that data kya computer mein hai, tele mein hai, wo baad mein dekhenge. These are all the kind of things where Mr. Sarkar and the people like you are all supporting. Your data is a gold mine. They don't understand this gold mine. Yeah. So this is my supporting this thing. Mr. Sarkar wants to say something.
Yeah, just I want to add to what Desai said. He's very right. This cleaning up and all, this is only the very low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
There are a lot of other things. It has absolutely to do with the mindset of the entrepreneur.
Yes.
Once the entrepreneur is open to
Yes.
taking a professional advices, well equipped from what the consultants,
yes.
And he really, it's a win-win for the business also. It's a win-win for the business. And he has to also come out of the notion that only loans are important for him, and that also banks.
That is important.
There are a lot of alternative finance avenues available today. He has to go. So strategics, I know a lot of second generation entrepreneurs can really think about a 10x growth. But a first generation proprietor or partner is very happy with a traditional 8%, 7% increase in the profitability or the growth. They are not worried about the valuation. They are not worried of the power they have, which Mr. Desai is referring to as the gold mine. The gold mine needs to be accessed. Mining has to be done.
Yes.
So these are the things where I think they need to, this mindset has to be changed. And this is perhaps one of the reasons of holding this kind of webinars.
Yes.
If we can spread the message.
It is nothing but profit mining.
Yeah, it's profit mining.
Mining.
And these are very loose ends.
Yes.
Today the message that technology is not something Greek or Latin.
Yes.
Technology is available, and technology is available at cheap cost.
Recently, one of my client was saying he was having all machinery facilities, but he doesn't have working capital. Because the working capital, all the machinery existing facilities are idle now. So it suggested him better to go for job working. So that the job working, working capital requirement is very less. What are the margin with that he can do that? But the another problem is the bankers may recover the amount, the whole amount, what is the amount credited to the bank account, that customer's account.
Yes.
That is that. How to protect that attachment by the bank? What precaution has to be taken by the entrepreneur for undertaking job works?
Should
he go for new firm, or should he go for the existing one with under giving assurance to the bank to adjust only some amount, not whole amount?
No, first of all, we have to do a detailed cash flow analysis. That's the first point which comes into existence, and perhaps you have done that. So a detailed cash flow analysis will point out whether this is profitable or not. And from the existing business, when he's moving to a new segment, say job work, I think it's better done under another structure or another company. Yes. But this I mean, we can have an offline discussion on this, but
yes,
this is generally what I feel, because it's a new business segment which is created. Banks will not be.
Yes.
Banks will not be comfortable now.
Yes, it's better to go for new organization, new business organization itself.
Yes.
Just like giving as a lease, that a premises,
giving as a
lease. Yes.
Yeah, and maybe the promoter of the old organization doesn't have a stake or minimum stake. We can suitably structure it in the new one. Yes. Because banks will also need to see the net worth. Na?
Yes.
So many things can be done.
Yeah.
Anything can be done. Entrepreneurs should be open for
Yes.
this thing. See,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, they go to multiple sources, and whatever is there in that is a behavioral problem with entrepreneurs. Whatever is convenient to them, that consultant they will go, and then half the way he will leave. So they save half, and then somebody else to save. It is becoming difficult, and they go on more and more in losses. Which is, see, they should have confidence on somebody and let them, suppose Sarkar wants help of you or help of me, let him select. But Sarkar is taking help of Hanmantlu, so let me go to directly Hanmantlu. It will not help. This is my
always
revival of
consultant is always kadwa daba hai bolte na. Kadwi
daba
hai. Consultant always kadwi daba.
No, consult that mindset has to change.
Yes.
As you know, that mindset has to change, and we also have to work as a team.
I mean, when it is medicine, if it is not acceptable, also not willing, also we have to accept it. If yes. Medicine is like that. Medicine always not acceptable.
There are two things.
We should become a mother of that unit rather than a daughter of that unit when we go in for revival. But they generally change our roles many times. So that is the biggest problem. You know, whatever is convenient to them, they try to change. But one thing, if India has to grow to $5 trillion economy by 25, MSME has to be awakened to the ground realities with so much emphasis to go for export. And so much emphasis given by government to
just 1 minute. Yeah. Just 1 minute, sir. Shashi, are you there?
Yeah, he's there.
Shashi, I think someone is waiting in the waiting room. Why you have not given entry?
Sorry, we must have missed it.
Shashi, someone I see. John Carl Torian.
We have admitted John Carl. Thank you, Mr. John. You have joined at a fag end, but still, now our next webinar will be on 20. Can any more questions are there, or shall I close?
I think it's still getting connected.
Okay. So as in this thing, time shortage, I thank everybody who has participated. Next webinar also will be from Mr. Sarkar, and the topic will be virtual CFO service, a smart choice for MSME. That is on 23rd 10 at 4 o'clock, and Sarkar is going to be speaking. And let us see that all our efforts goes to bring that our at $5 trillion economy and $8 trillion in next 3 years from that time. MSME has to wake up, and they have got tremendous potentiality. They are all 16 years girls ready to wait for a boy, and export opportunities are many. So please wake up. Take help of consultant, whomsoever you like. Take help of mentors. And I think John Carl has joined. Welcome, John. Any specific question you got, or we are trying to close this? John, anything? Unmute.
Any questions from participants? You can put in the chat box, or you can directly ask by unmuting yourself. Shashi, can you unmute them?
Yes, he is trying to unmute her. Okay, John has joined, but I think as he is not able to ask a question. John, you have got any question? You can put it in a chat box. See, today a lot of people have joined from foreign countries. That is a welcome step, and that is a recognition of Mr. Sarkar's capability of the topic and subject knowledge. So I thank you, Mr. Sarkar. I thank everybody and I welcome everybody to come on next 23rd and 23rd on the topic, very interesting topic.
Thank you everyone
CFO, because today CFO, big companies can afford, but small companies cannot afford, and that they make a lot of mistakes in compliances. And compliance is one of the things which comes at the last moment when you are busy to do something big, and that kills you. So one or two more threads are there. I'll come back to you, Sravan, and we'll work out and let you know probably tomorrow itself whether we can give a certification or not. Because we have never done it, but it does not mean that we cannot do it, because today, luckily, there are many foreign participants. So I'll request my co-founder also to think and come back. Tomorrow we'll discuss that subject. Thank you. Can we end the webinar, or you want to say, Sarkar, something?
No, I want to just thank everyone for their patient hearing. We'll discuss on the e-certificate, which will be a participation only. Thanks, Hanumantu.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanumantu.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. तुम कल भी मेरा 9 साढ़े 9 बजे है रात को, how will you handle?